What's up, everybody? Thanks again for tuning back into Channel 99. Casey's back, episode 2. We geek about everything. Again, this is about music, local scene, and then the continuation of your craft and the projects that you have in store. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much here talking about local music and the history of it and the history of country music and rock and roll and where, like, really all this shit comes from and, kind of touching base on all the things that I'd like to kind of bring to the attention of the younger kids out here and kind of give them a little bit of hindsight 2020 on their, their musical listening and their everything that they dig and where it came from,
Viewing things at different angles.
Yeah.
I think it's important, especially with music, right? And we talk a little bit about it with the influence that jazz and so many other genres play into rock and country and in general. Music blends, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you see even now, we have a lot of like hip-hop influence in a lot of different styles of music. Granted, I don't have an opinion with that when it comes to like country style because it's a very contrasted type of music background. But I do know that there is an influence between different genres.
Yeah,
within different genres, and there's a lot of some people would consider it cross contamination.
Yeah,
I consider it a hybrid style.
Yeah.
And I think you bring a lot of influence. You have a rock band.
Yeah, yes,
right?
sir.
And
yes, sir.
And you've been influenced by like rock, punk. We talked a lot about different types of music beforehand, jazz, everything. And you play multiple instruments. And a lot of people, when I go to concerts, the other day I was at the Bash Fest, and it was Rancid and Pennywise and L7 and the Darts, and we're talking like punk as fuck, right?
Yeah.
And I was there. People looked at me funky because I don't have tattoos. I'm fucking pretty. I'm getting hated, and
You're
then
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I get hated on, and then I started talking to some guy. And I told him, I was like, hey, man, yeah, I have a studio. He was a member of a band, local band. And I said, hey, I have a studio. I like to do podcasts. Like, if you and your band ever want to come over and, like, do a quick, like, acoustic set, more than welcome to. And he's like, well, what kind of music do you do? And I was like, well, I do everything from, like, metal to, like, country. And the guy was like, don't say country around here. You're going to get beat up. And I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, but I'm not a country artist. I don't do country. Like, you probably have a whole different perception of what it is.
Yeah. Well,
but most of those artists, they transition into all kinds. If you can play guitar and you sound good and you enjoy music, you can play whatever the fuck you want.
Well, and a lot of things that I think we're going to touch on this episode is the difference between real country music and country music nowadays. Like, what you hear on the radio is not country music,
No.
What country music is really the roots of like punk and like where all this, like Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash and Johnny Paycheck and all those guys who were just like fuck the man, didn't
they're
give a
like
shit.
rock artists that decided,
they're doing
fuck everybody else, I'm gonna do my thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've got a guy who's been on many episodes. I've done on a couple of unplugged sessions with and he's one of my good friends, but he came on, did the exact same thing, and he's a local country musician. So, anyways, make sure that you subscribe, everybody. Give us 5 stars. Pass the episode along. Make sure that you subscribe also to your band and your group. Again, it is
Tula Rosa Band on Facebook, also Atlas Novus, and if you want to check me out playing live, I'm with Buddy DeVore and the Faded Cowboys, also on Facebook. So be sure to give those all a like and keep up with us where we are. We're all 3 working on albums right now, and they'll be out in the next month and a half or 2. So keep an eye out for those and watch for us playing live around the valley.
Hell yeah. All right, everybody. Make sure that you have a wonderful rest of Yo. Day-e-e-e-e. That's exactly right. Bring. Peace.
Shut up and sit down.
Like there's the opportunity for nobody to care about it. Like, I'm not gonna throw out names. I could if I want to, but like, they act like they're fucking rock stars. It's like, dude, we're in Boise.
You're in Boise.
Who gives a shit? Like, we play for, if you have a big show, it's 60 people at a bar and they're dancing.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck, you know?
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Well,
but like, that's what's cool about you, because you're like hitting up these big people and they're like bringing you in and shit, but it's like you're doing it. You're doing it. Like, that's
Thanks, man.
cool. Like, I love that.
Thanks, man.
Because like, I don't know, I've got those opportunities too, and like I've taken some of them, and other ones I'm like, that's not my vibe, and like I'm not gonna do it, because like you were talking about earlier, like when we were just hanging out, like people aren't, like some people aren't in it for the money and some people are. Like, I'm in it for like what I'm about, and I'm not gonna sing shit and like play shit that I'm not about, you know?
Yeah.
And like, you're taking photos and you're doing podcasts, but you're not gonna fucking record something or go like do photography on something or anything that you're not about.
Right.
You
And I
know?
don't demand like money. There's a lot of people, and I'm really fucking with the photography community right now, because I just bought a lens that's like, I have like a set. I've got a setup. I've got multiple I mean, you guys have seen me with my cameras already, and this is half of them. Like, I've got 2 more cameras that I don't even use right now, just because I can't carry 4 cameras on me, right? But I'm somebody who's passionate about what I do, and I don't charge bands, and I'm really disrupting the local photography community, because there are local photographers who, you know, they make a living on their photography.
Yeah.
But if you're not fucking good at what you do, and if somebody like me comes in as a hobbyist and fucks with your game, rethink what you're doing.
No shit.
Or
yeah.
get the fuck out and figure out
Exactly,
something else
yeah.
you're good at. Because if I'm stealing your fucking business and I'm doing it for free, it means you're not fucking good enough. And that's what competition is, and that's capitalism.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So get the fuck out. It's not my problem that I can afford to buy a dope lens and a professional camera, like a full frame camera, and to go into your fucking game and say, hey, this is how it should be done, and if you don't fix your shit, well, get the fuck out.
Well,
because I don't care. I'm already making a salary. I don't give a flying fuck. I'll come in, I'll fuck with you, and I'll take the heat, I'll take the drama. But at the end of the day, a band who can't afford you at $350 a show, and they can afford me at $0.99 a show, they're gonna have me come in and hang out.
And that's where I'm like at on the other aspect, and like not trying to fucking sound big headed or nothing, but it's like when my band can come in, you know, and it's like we're a bunch of broke kids. Like, fuck's sake, I go day work on a ranch and build fence and like push cows or whatever needs done, you know, for
like ranch hand.
for no even set price. It's just like whatever the kid wants to give me, and like, sure, like he buys me lunch and we like drink beer and we smoke and like we have a good time and like
Right.
all day while we're working. But it's like, I can't afford like crazy $1,000 guitars. The only reason I've ever got a nice guitar is because I've tripped and fell into it by luck, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, if I can just pop up in your shit that you've been doing for 5 years, you know, and like not trying to sound like an asshole, but like do it almost better, you know?
Yeah.
And like do it with confidence and do it like with support from all these people, because they're like, yeah, we fucking dig what you're doing. Like, it's like, I don't know like where you're coming from when you're like, oh shit, I need to charge $15 a ticket at a show. I need to charge, you know, $20. I need to fucking act like an arrogant prick, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm doing it because I love it. I'm doing it with what I have, and I'm doing it like with what I was brought up as. And like, that's all I care about. But still, that's what the people want, man. It's
Yeah.
like, And it's with art, it's with photography, it's with music, it's with anything. When you have that drive and like you've been raised in that, and like when you're really compassionate about shit, that's when the talent shines through. Like none of the guys that I look up to, like my favorite guys are guys people have never heard of. They've always sat in the background. Like Townes Van Zandt. Like one of the most famous country music songs of all time is Poncho and Lefty. Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard. But it was written by Townes Van Zandt, and most people don't know that. He sat in the background, but it was like he never gave a shit about the money.
It's about doing what you
He
love.
was just doing what he loved.
Loving
yeah.
what you do, man.
And like Guy Clark and Blaze Foley and Pinot, like our local legend, Pinot Bennett, you know?
Yeah.
Like he was in the same crowd with all those guys, all those same cats, and he was writing shit on the same level.
Yeah.
And it's like, who knows about Pinot? No one. It's like a small group, and it's bullshit because it's like it's these guys that are next level, really. And they're
those are
doing
the
what
true
they love.
businessmen, though.
Yeah.
And those are the ones who contract out and say, hey, listen, I'm doing this song for you, or I'm the guy who's producing it. So, you, like, let's be real. You're taking 30% stake, and I get 70. And they're the ones making money. They're the smart motherfuckers.
Oh, yeah.
And it's kind of the same way right now. So I own a nutritional supplement company. I sponsor athletes, collegiate, high school, professional, you name it. And I was just contacted by the one of the top, if not the top, nutritional like supplement company in Canada. Literally yesterday, I had a phone call with them. And Friday, I've got a meeting and a conference call with the owner of the company, which is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And I have put $0 into marketing. I put $0 in everything at all. I haven't outsourced. The one thing I did outsource, I recreated myself and made it even better.
Oh, yeah.
And that's because of the type of person I am, the personality I have, and I'm somebody who firmly believes that if you have some type of drive or you have a goal, you need to achieve that goal, and you need to make sure that you hit that drive.
And see, like the thing that I've always thought about, like from the music aspect of like Pinot, like Townes, he's had a good following. Well, he's dead now, and so's but like John Prine, Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt, like they've all had these huge hits, you know, and they've been in the spotlight, even if like they weren't recognized as much as the people who actually sing their songs. You know, they've been in the spotlight as songwriters, but like I've always had this thing about Pinot since I've been informed about Pinot and been playing Pinot's music and been friends with Pinot. You know, Pinot, like everywhere I go, I tell people like Pinot's my grandpa. Like,
yeah.
You know, like he's the coolest guy. But it's like I feel like Townes is my favorite, and Graham Parsons too, but like they wrote some music that's like people are not gonna listen to that shit, but it's so real. It's so like that's the music that brings like guys like me to tears, guys who are brought up to not cry about shit, you know. Like that's the music that's like
harden up, dude. This is real life.
Yeah, no shit. And like Pinot writes that kind of shit, you know. But it's like Pinot has always been him. And it's like if Pinot's been in Nashville with the biggest art, well, he's been with all those guys. Like Richard Dobson was in the same crew with Guy Clark and Townes and all those guys, and Pinot played his songs, and Richard Dobson wrote songs with Pinot, and like Pinot guys in Pinot's band were fucking like house-sitting houses that Townes was staying at all the time, you know? And it's like Pinot's writing these songs, and no matter who's around him, he's still only writing what he wants to write.
Yeah.
It's like the label's telling him, no, we need this, and Pinot's like, well, this is what I'm feeling. And that shit, like, I would rather be broke and like writing what I mean and love, like Pinot, you know. And Pinot's made a great life for himself and a great living and a great legend out of himself, not even meaning to. He just is. He's that good. But like that's the way I've always been too. It's like I'm gonna write what I want to write about, It's like people can ask me like, hey, you know, if you change this lyric and this lyric, that's what people are going to like. And Pinno's always been like, no, this is what I wrote, and this is what I love, and this is what I mean.
Right.
So that's what I am. And that's the kind of shit that I'm about. Like, Pinno's got this, well, one of his biggest albums ever is titled Pure Quill. And that's always been Pinno's motto. And Pure Quill is like staying what you're, you know, it's like staying what you're about. It's like,
well, a quill, isn't that authenticity, right?
Yeah.
It's like you would sign your signature with an
a quill,
actual
yeah.
quill and ink.
Yeah.
So pure quill, that makes sense.
Pure
like
quill,
be
yeah.
authentic as fuck. Like that's as authentic as
Yeah,
you can
and
be.
that's like the cool shit, man. It's like you are what you're about all the time. Like if I'm sitting with you or I'm sitting with 10 different guys in a different setting, I'm always going to be what I'm about. And that's the pure quill side of things. And like that's the cool shit, man, you know.
I dig
It's
that.
like, do you want to hang out with someone who's a different person around different people?
Nah.
No, you want to be with the people who are real people, you know. And one thing that I really wanted to touch on is like the coolest shit. Like to me, personally, just as a young kid, like I was talking about earlier, how I grew up like the very first like non-secular fucking music that I ever heard, you know. Like the non-gospel shit was Chris Ledoux. Well, there's fellas like KW was Chris Ledoux's drummer, and David Lyle Evans, who we call Pops, was Chris Ledoux's bass player. And ever since I've been playing with Buddy and Pinno, guys like that, and mainly Buddy, who is really like Pinno's torch down, you know, he's the next in line of Pinno's legacy, which is just the coolest shit. But like Pops and KW and Teddy Ray and like all those cool guys, Sergio and Robbie Matson, like all the guys who played with Chris and played with Pinno, and like I have had the opportunity to like share the stage at the same time with guys like that, like the guys who made me think like, wow, music is something I want to do, you know, guys who are my heroes. And I never would have got that once if it wasn't for one, Buddy DeVore, and two, Pinno Bennett. You know, those are the guys who they brought him up. They put him in the next level where guys like Chris Ledoux and guys like we played with a guy named Kerry Tackett who played on Merle Haggard records and just crazy shit, like shit you would never think that you're ever going to be associated with, you know. Like they put those guys on the next level where they were, you know, interacting with that, but they're still sitting with guys like us and playing.
Yeah, because they recognize that you. I think a lot of times these bigger bands or artists, they seek out like either recording or touring artists because it's something that's going to exhibit passion. And when I go on stage, when I'm recording or like filming, taking photographs for a lot of these bands and I've only been doing this for a couple of months, but over the last couple of months, my game has completely gone from people who have like 20, 30 followers to like hundreds of thousands of followers. And I'm able to just hit them up and say, hey, can I take photos? And the one thing that I see that is consistent between the people who have 100 followers and 50,000 or 100,000 or 120,000 followers, or whatever it might be, what remains consistent is when I take photos of those bands, they absolutely enjoy what they're doing for the moment.
Oh yeah,
and I can tell
and
when
they're about it. Like that's their shit. Like,
yeah,
they wouldn't change it for anything.
Well, and there are bands though, and there are artists that I have taken photos of, and I don't post it, but they do not exhibit any enthusiasm. Some of them act like they are on their job, like they have to be there. It's like what they have to do. It's not because they get to be there, but because they have to be there. And I do notice that in certain bands at every level. But for the most part, a lot of individuals who I've been able to film and record on stage, they have been they have taken advantage of like the opportunities that they have, because not everybody gets to tour. Not everybody gets to go out and do what they love. Most people hate their fucking lives. Most people hate what they fucking do, and that's why I do what I do, and that's why I exhibit so many different qualities. It's because I have the time. I have to take advantage of it, because I've almost died many times.
Oh yeah, same here.
Yeah, I've been on death's fucking door many times. I should be dead many times over, and so ever since I've had these moments where I've been awakened by knowing that most people wouldn't survive what I've been through, what I've gone through, and having the opportunities and putting the time and the effort into making sure I make myself as good as I can, I realized that I should take advantage of every fucking moment, and that's what I do. I email and I message bands all the time. Hey, you're coming into town? Let me know if you need a photographer. If not, I don't fucking care. I got shit going on. You know, like I got podcasts, and I've got like shows that I shoot for free, and I play, you know, musical instruments, and sometimes I want to watch a TV show. I haven't done it in a long time. But sometimes I like to enjoy myself. Sometimes I like to make a meal. Don't usually have any time to do it. But when I do have time, I like to do it, you know? And so for me, when I donate that time, as long as it's appreciated and the people that I believe deserve my time, as long as they appreciate it, which is 99% of the time, because most people who are passionate about what they do, they attract people like myself and vice versa. Otherwise, you know, they're going to get a photographer that's going to be like, hey, I'll take photos of you for $400 for your 2-hour set in front of 30 people. No, go fuck yourself. Like, that band doesn't want to, they can't afford that. They're playing in front of 30 fucking people.
Yeah, no shit.
You know, like, there's a reason why there are people like me and there are people like you. People like you who are extremely passionate. Dude, you are fucking gifted, bro. Like, you're so good. And I've only heard you play and pick, like, for, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Yeah. And I already recognize.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we've been podcasting, so I do recognize that you are not only talented, but you're very passionate, and you've gone through serious trials, serious trials.
Well, and like things that I've always been very, very adamant about is like never like a lot of people play songs because they're like, oh my god, I love this song so much. It's such a killer song. Like, I hear this song, like, the beat makes me feel shit, blah, 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 you know? And, like, one reason I do not like shit is, like, there's plenty of songs that I'm like, oh my god, if I was drunk, like, and dance with the gal or whatever, you know? Like, I could vibe with this shit. Like, this is cool. It's got a cool beat, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But that's not me. Like, when I want to play a song, when I want to sing a song, is like the shit that makes me feel stuff, you know? Like the shit that makes me sad or the shit that makes me genuinely happy. But it's generally like the shit that's like, I've done fucked up shit, man. Like, I've, you know, been an addict. Like, I still struggle with drinking. Like, I do all sorts of things that, like, normal, like the normal middle class society or like high class society does not at least show in the fucking mainstream, at least, you know. The things that aren't mainstream to people, the things that scare people, like, that's been me, you know. So when I hear the songs that relate to that, it's like, it's a big deal to me, and that's the kind of things that I want to sing, and that's the kind of things that I want to preach to the younger people. Because, like, I feel like when a parent is a parent and a parent has a kid, like, they never want their kids to end up like them. They want their kids to be better, you know? And I'm not saying, like, these kids that are younger than me and playing music are my children, anything like that. But I've got a few years on them, and I've experienced a lot, and, like, especially my upbringing, like, out in the middle of nowhere, like, shit like that, you know? I'm not in Boise dealing with all the, like, politically correct soft shit that can fucking comfort you. Like, it's like, I'm out where it's like
real fucking life.
Yeah,
dude.
it's like you're either gonna live and do what you want, or you're gonna kill or be killed, you know? And it's like, I don't mean that like violently, it's just like people are gonna eat you up if you're soft, you know? And it's hard shit, and like, I'm totally like into anybody doing what they want to do as long as it's them. But it's deep shit. It's hard shit, man. It's like people struggle with addiction. Like people struggle with being themselves. People struggle with their own sexuality. Like that kind of shit that like people are dealing with and like dealing with on their own, you know, and they feel like they have nowhere to go and no one to respond to. Like, that's the kind of shit that I'm about. Like, one of my favorite songwriters of all time is Graham Parsons, and one of the coolest stories that I have is, so, like Graham Parsons is, like, a legend because a lot of people don't know it, but he, like, wrote a lot of, like, hit songs for the Stones, things like that.
Damn. Okay.
And,
yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and like the Byrds, the Flying Burrito, like people don't know about. A lot of people know about the Byrds. A lot of people don't know about the Flying Burrito Brothers, but it's practically the same band. It's just Graham Parsons joined, and he wrote all these amazing songs. Emmylou Harris, like if anybody's familiar with like old school country music, like Emmylou is like a Grand Ole Opry, Nashville, like Hall of Fame music legend. And Graham like brought her into the spotlight. But like Graham was doing all this shit, man, and like it was the cool shit. And there's a movie about him, actually. It's called Graham Theft Parsons, and Johnny Knoxville is actually one of the main characters in it.
Oh, haven't heard his name in a long time, dude.
You'll have to check it out. But it's about like the death of Graham Parsons. Graham overdosed in a hotel, and they called his manager the nanny of the stars is what they called him, and he was the manager of also Pinot at the same time, you know, our local legend,
right?
And so Graham overdosed on heroin. And Phil Kaufman is his actual name. Spent his entire night shoving ice and like just, it's an insane story, but just like shoving ice up Graham's ass, you know, trying to keep him from overdosing on heroin and dying. Trying to keep him cool. And this girl left him and let him die while Phil was getting more ice.
Damn.
And Graham ended up being shipped to this L.A. airport station, getting ready to be shipped back to New Orleans, or not even New Orleans, sorry, South Carolina, to be buried at his own home so his foster family could bury him. But Graham had made this promise with Phil Kaufman that whoever died first, they would take them out to Joshua Tree in the desert in the middle of California, like 3 hours before you hit LA, like just desert, and burning the body. So Phil Kaufman hijacked Graham Parsons' body from the LA Air Center in a casket, borrowed a hearse, took the body clear to Joshua Tree, 3 hours away, with this random man that owned a hearse that he did not know.
He straight hijacked his body.
Yeah, the cops were chasing him. They
fucking awesome.
Ended up burning his body, and he got in trouble for a federal lawsuit for burning a casket because they could not fucking prove that he burned Graham Parsons' body.
No way.
Yeah, and they lit him on fire in Joshua Tree right there, burned him to death. But it's like guys like that, like people don't know about this shit, and like that's the people where like the Rolling Stones came from. Like Graham Parsons wrote some of the most amazing Rolling Stones music, and you know, and like Towns played it, and like Pinot played, like all these guys that we are like close to, and like they're all in our area, and we could go all have the chance to listen to them. People don't know about this shit, and it's like that's the reason. Like you listen to heavy shit, you listen to punk shit, like you listen
Everything.
You listen to everything, yeah, and I do too.
I just love people who love what they do.
Exactly, yeah, and it's
even
like
if I don't fucking agree with it, I fucking love that people love what they do.
Me too, and it's like I don't understand how people don't learn this shit. Like there is so much musical history in Boise, like Graham, which was brought through Towns, which was made famous by the Rolling Stones, which was brought to Idaho by Pinot Bennett, our own local legend. You know, there's these lines and these beautiful things like brought to us by them that we don't acknowledge, we don't bring to the light. Like Graham had a song, Dead Flowers, was written by Graham Parsons and Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, and one of the deepest lines to me is, I'll be in my basement room with a needle and a spoon and another girl to take my pain away. Like,
and he sings country.
Yeah, and that's like the revolution of country rock and roll. But he's sitting there writing for the Stones, who are the revolution for rock and roll and punk rock and roll. And it's like they did their own shit. Like that's what made people want to play punk. And like, you know, there was punk bands way before there was thrash metal bands, and there was metal bands and guys like
Evolution, honestly, man, I think it all comes from like country and jazz and blues
and folks. Yeah,
yeah,
like,
all that stuff. I love folk, dude. Bluegrass, one of my favorites. Which is why I'm shooting the Shook Twins tomorrow.
Yeah, well, it's like
I'm so excited.
It's like you can't have like rock and roll is the blues.
It is, man. It's an evolution, and it all started from the blues. Okay, we can start at Elvis.
Yeah,
who transformed rock and roll. So in high school, and I have like a trophy, which is like stupid fucking whatever, but I have a trophy from high school, and I did, back in the day, it was True Life had just started kicking off on MTV. So I did True Life, I Am Elvis, and I did a documentary on a kid who has Asperger's, and he was obsessed with Elvis. And I did a documentary on him. I ended up beating out everybody. I got Film of the Year, and I take pride in that because the people who were like second and third, one of them's a senior director for Netflix right now, and I fucking outdid that guy. One of my best friends of all time. I love that guy, Ethan Chancer. That's a shout out. He has made a living on creating music videos up until recently when he got signed on to a Netflix series. And so it's kind of cool to me knowing that like at least I have the visual capacity to like enjoy what I do and know that like even if people don't enjoy what I do, there's somebody who likes what I do. And I get continuously I get good feedback. I don't ever get negative feedback. I'm sure there is, but those people probably don't care enough to actually give it to me. But it falls in line with artists. The same thing, right? Like I love photography, I love videos. Unfortunately, I can't play guitar or a piano
yet
on the spot. Right? I have a fucking amazing guitar, and people know this if they've been to my studio or been to my music room. But like, but I have the resources to enjoy it, but I don't have the time. And eventually I'll fucking jam. Dude, come over and teach me guitar. Do you teach guitar? Do you want to teach me some fucking guitar?
And my roommate that I was bragging about earlier is an actual guitar teacher at Eagle Guitar, who is owned by J.R. Lang, who's played with the Allman Brothers.
I love the Allman Brothers.
And Glenn Frey from the Eagles, and just like some of my biggest like aspirations.
Like touring, he's
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, see,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah,
and a
it's-
lot of people
and
don't even know.
recording and like like the most beautiful shit that like you hear on the records, like that's JR.
You need to
know?
bring these people in. Do you want to co-host a show?
Oh man, yeah.
Do you want to actually host a show?
I'll do anything, yeah.
Do you want to host a show for me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just dropped 2 shows. I was about to add one, but I'm going to blend the one into my other shows. So let's talk after this episode, because I'd love to bring you in as at least a host, maybe twice a month. All I need is an hour of your time. You bring in somebody who's a musician. We do like a 10-minute track, 3 songs, quick episode. We geek on literally what we've been doing right now. Is that cool?
Yeah, I'm down for it.
Unfortunately, I can't pay you because I don't make money. But when I start making money,
fortunately for you, I never make money either.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
But eventually, somebody will find me, and when they find me, they're gonna find you. And when they hire me and they buy out all of the fucking episodes that they want, if you're part of it, you're gonna fucking make money. So if you want to come hang out with me, I'll give you a free fucking platform to come geek with me on music.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it would be fucking dope. Well,
Well,
I just love artists, man, and I record consistently. In case nobody who's listening to this actually follows me on social media, Instagram, Channel 99 Studio, or just Channel 99. That's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. But I dedicate my life to musicians only because there is a neglect, and there's not enough people who appreciate local musicians who are super fucking good. The biggest names come out of Boise are what? Curtis Steigers. I love the guy. There's no way that he will ever be on my show because he's so fucking famous. But let's say Curtis Steigers and Built to Spill, right? Like, those are the 2 biggest names, in my opinion, to come out of Boise.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, like anybody who listens to music and they're like a dedicated local fan, they'll know those 2 names. And if they don't, then they're not too dedicated.
Yeah.
But those are the guys, in my opinion, who have actually made a name for themselves. But outside of that, man, it's tough, dude. It's a tough market. It's a tough community. There's a lot of drama. I deal with it. My fucking roommate is part of like one of the biggest bands in the area.
We Were Giants.
Yeah, man.
Shout out, We Were Giants.
Yeah, dude. They're fucking good, man. And and they're coming up, and I have the opportunity.
Yeah, they've been alternative press, like cool shit.
Yeah, dude. Front page, alternative press. We went on tour with Stay Sick Records. Like, everybody who hasn't listened to the previous couple episodes, I just published the follow-up to our tour, and then an extra episode where we do Craigslist missed encounters. So have you ever looked over those?
Oh my god, they're insane.
Do you want to read a couple of them? We'll find a city and we'll read like 2 or 3 of them
Sure.
to finish out the night. But we need to at least record you. So I think we can wrap up this second part, unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
Well, I mean, shit, if we're talking about Graham and Towns and Pinto and all those guys, let's do a Graham song.
Yeah.
Well, with Keith Richards, and then maybe a Pinto song and one of mine, huh?
Yeah. So we're going to record, if we do an acoustic set, we're going to do it separate.
Okay.
So the only reason why is because I like the fans who enjoy the show to experience a separate episode that's just 10 minutes long of just straight pure music.
Whatever you're into, man.
So as many songs as you want, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, you could do 10 fucking songs and I'll record all 10 of them, and if you like them, I'll keep them. I'll edit all 10 of the fucking songs, and then I'll just put it on like a straight unplugged. So we're gonna have an episode with you, and then we're gonna have an unplugged episode with you.
Let's do that.
Okay, solid, man. Where can anybody find you? The bands that you represent, your personal, whatever.
You can find Tularosa, Atlas Novus, and Beidevor and the Faded Cowboys all on Facebook. Tularosa and Atlas Novus are both coming out with an album right now. I'm frontman for both of those. Play lead guitar. Beidevor, I'm actually just a live musician for him. I'm actually not on the record, but really, if you want to hear some real Idaho, like hardcore honky tonk, real live country shit, like I suggest that you go take a look at that album. And even if you're looking for like some real like punk rock, like cool shit, like I've been a part of them, I'm not a part anymore, but go check out King Queen of Losers. They're a cool band. You know, there's so much cool live music out here in the area. Like I'd say, as far as I'm concerned, just stay tuned to like the Shredder and Death Proof Coffee as far as local music goes, and just be hitting as many shows of those as you can.
Yeah.
But yeah, our Atlas Novus, we're still in the studio. We'll probably be done with our album here in the next 2 months or so. Atlas Novus probably the next 2 or 3 months. So be looking for those. You can find us all on Facebook and follow us and stay up to date with that. And Buddy DeVore will probably be done with his album here in the next month or two also. And you can also find him on Facebook. Also, one other I'll give a shout out to, one last band. I used to play bass for Jesse Day and the Sagebrush Drifters, which is a really sick band. That's actually where I met you, Tim. I was playing bass for them at the Reef for a Ning Factory benefit, and they'll be coming out with their album probably in the next month and a half or two.
Bring them on, dude.
And yeah, they're just incredible. Like the talent that those guys hold is insane.
I've had bands in here with like a small like traveling drum kit. We can plug in 4 fucking guitars with mics. I've got a 12 channel set. Like I can do at least a small band. So if you want to bring people in, anybody, man. I know you're connected, but I'm not asking you because I'm desperate. I'm asking you because I think it's something nobody else can offer for these people.
I think it's so something good, that everybody needs to know about too, man.
Totally.
But also, like, Tim, give your all your social media info. Like, we need to be able to check you out on every platform we can too.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows you can find me at Channel 99, and that's everywhere. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, Stitcher Plus. I'm literally everywhere. And if you can't find me, then message me and I'll tell you another app. But I mean, literally everywhere. Castbox. I'm on 20 plus platforms. So
everywhere.
I'm just trying to. The reason why is because I'm trying to get out Boise. Boise is a neglected scene. It doesn't have enough people who want to devote their time or their resources without being compensated for. And I have lots of time. I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have a wife. I don't have kids. I got a fucking dog. I'll run her out for 20 minutes before I go to bed, right? Like, that's what I have. 23 hours a day I have dedicated to the people that I love, the people who love what they do and do what they love. And
your dog.
And my dog. She gets to enjoy it as well, right? She gets to hang out, though. She's hanging out right now. So, I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, you've been so much fun. Everybody who's listening, make sure you stay tuned. I will be publishing an unplugged set here with Casey. We will be jamming. Make sure that you subscribe. Give us 5 stars. Pass the episode along. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
God be with you.
Peace.